Welcome back, guys. Today I'm going to talk about the 9 financial steps you need to take in the event that you or your spouse is terminally ill. What do you need to do to prepare for the end of life, financially speaking? I hope no one is at the end of life. I hope no one is terminally ill, but it happens to some people. If you're in that boat and you're terminally ill and you're not sure financially what you need to do, this video will give you 9 things you should take care of before the end. Number 1. The first thing has to do with passwords and accounts. You need to make sure that both spouses know all the account numbers and all the passwords, because if the one passes away, the other one's going to need to get into those accounts. So how to log into Vanguard, how to log into everything, like how to log into the utility bill, how to log into the insurance company, how to log into your bank account, how to do all that stuff. All those passwords and accounts need to be shared. Following this, you also should probably keep the terminally ill spouse's cell phone active after he or she passes away, because a lot of websites have 2-stage authentication where you first log in and then they send a text to your cell phone to make sure it's really you. Then you need to give the code from that text back to the website so they know it was you. So you'll probably want to keep your spouse's cell phone active after he or she passes away. If an account is in the terminally ill spouse's name, you should probably add the non-terminally ill spouse's name to that account, or just switch it over to the non-terminally ill spouse. Another thing you should do is you should cancel credit cards you don't need or that are only in the terminally ill spouse's name. Cancel those. Also, for the remaining bills, set those up in the non-terminally ill spouse's name and set them on auto pay. So the non-terminally ill spouse, the bills just get paid without them having to take any action. So that's number 1. Make sure both parties know all the accounts and all the passwords. Number 2, go to the funeral home and prepay for the funeral, prepay for the headstone, prepay for the burial. So when time comes, you don't need to worry about paying for that stuff. You might even be able to negotiate a better price. Because if a person just passed, you have no wiggle room as far as you need to have the funeral immediately, so they can charge whatever they want because you need it now and you can't sort of put it off. But if you buy it long in advance, you might likely get a better deal. Also, the ill spouse will have a say in what casket he or she is buried in, what the burial plot looks like, what the headstone says, all those things. The ill spouse can be a part of making those decisions. Number 3, get in touch with the life insurance company if you happen to have life insurance. Find out how the money will flow to the remaining spouse following the death. Will there be a long lag? Will it flow immediately? This will help you plan your finances following the spouse's passing. Number 4, this is very important. If the ill spouse handles all the finances in the household, make sure you sit down with the non-ill spouse who doesn't handle the finances and teach them how to handle the finances. The non-ill spouse is going to need to know how to deal with the finances. Where does the money come from? Where does it go? How do I pay the bills? What bills should I expect? Along these lines, you probably ought to sketch out a medium-term budget. What will the average month expenses and income look like? What will the year's income and expenses look like? What will the next 3 to 5 years income and expenses look like? Don't leave them hanging with your passing. Make sure they know what's going on. Make sure they have a good grasp on the finances of the household if they need to run them following your passing. Number 5, make sure you're on the same page as far as where income comes from. If you're terminally ill, you're likely old and retired. Make sure the remaining spouse knows where income is coming from. Is there a survivor benefit from Social Security? Do the investments pay dividends quarterly? Do you have bonds that pay interest every 6 months? The spouse needs to know where their money is going to come from if they don't know already. So make sure the remaining spouse has a good idea of where money is going to come from after your passing. Number 6, it's probably a good idea to transfer all the major assets to the remaining spouse's name. So if the house is in both of your names, transfer it to the remaining spouse. If your car is in your name, transfer it to the surviving spouse. Don't keep things in your name, otherwise the government will probably tax them in your estate after you pass away. This will make life a lot easier for the remaining spouse if the assets are just in their name and your estate is smaller and simpler. So transfer large assets into the remaining spouse's, the surviving spouse's name. Number 7, go over your will. Make sure it is up to date. Make sure an attorney has been involved. This tells the world how you wish your assets to be split up after your passing. This needs to be very clear and exactly as you wish it to be. You don't want this to be 10 years old and your thoughts and feelings have changed since then. You have a chance to go over your will very near the end, which a lot of people don't get, so please take advantage of that. I'm not saying death is a nice, easy thing to be terminally ill. I'm just saying some people don't get a chance to know when the end is, and thus don't get a chance to update their will. You have that chance, so make sure your will is updated exactly as you'd like it to be. Make sure an attorney has been involved. Number 8. Hire an estate attorney. Assets in some types of trust don't pass through the estate tax if you happen to live in a state where there are estate taxes. So if you set things up in a trust, you have to give control of those things over before you die when you set the trust up, but your spouse will be able to take those things into their control, and those things won't have to go through your estate, thus the government won't tax them. So there are many benefits of a trust. I'm not an attorney. Please consult an estate attorney about the potential of setting up a trust for your assets. That's number 8. Number 9, make sure the remaining spouse is very, very skeptical of any phone calls or ads or visits to their home they may get the year after your passing. Scammers like to go through the obituaries to identify victims for financial crimes. So be careful of friends coming out of the woodwork, even distant relatives looking to have a piece of your estate. Make sure the spouse is very skeptical of anyone wanting anything from them following your passing. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you in the next video.